My cheating girlfriend dumped me, demanded I bankroll her life with her new boyfriend, then tried to sue me, until one move destroyed everything she planned.
I, a 28-year-old male, met my ex, Susie, a 27-year-old female, back in college when we were both broke as hell.
I was grinding through a computer science degree while she was doing communications. We bonded over cheap pizza and all-night study sessions. My best friend, Zach, a 29-year-old male, warned me from day one. "Dude, she is hot, but she has got future vampire written all over her," he said after meeting her at a party. I laughed it off. Should have listened to my guy. Our early relationship was pretty standard college stuff. We would hang out between classes, grab cheap food, and spend weekends watching movies in my dorm room. She rarely paid for anything, even then. I just did not notice because everything was so cheap. Anyway, fast forward through graduation and I landed a solid development job at a tech company. While Susie, well, she kind of just floated. She would get marketing jobs, hate them within 3 months, quit without having anything lined up, then complain about being broke. Rinse and repeat. The career pattern started right after college. Her first job was at a marketing agency where she claimed her boss was toxic and quit after just 8 weeks. Then came a stint at a startup where the culture was not a good fit. Translation: they expected her to work more than 30 hours a week. Then a position as a social media manager that ended because they did not appreciate her creative vision. Also known as, they asked her to follow the content calendar. Somehow I ended up paying for almost everything. I covered 80% of our rent, all utilities, groceries, her phone bill, car insurance, and even her student loan minimum some months. On top of that, I was still expected to fund her self-care routine, weekly nail appointments, monthly hair treatments, shopping sprees where she dropped $500 on clothes she would wear once, and vacations she would plan without consulting me about the budget. This financial bleeding happened so gradually I barely noticed. First it was, "Babe, can you spot me for dinner? I will get you next time." Except next time never came. Then it was, "I am a little short on rent this month. Can you cover the difference?" The difference grew each month until I was essentially paying for everything. Whenever Zach came over for our weekly gaming sessions, he would look at the new designer bag on the counter or watch her walk in with shopping bags and whisper, "I see your 401k is doing well." Walking around in stilettos and carrying Louis Vuitton, I would tell him to shut up, but deep down I knew he was right. The red flags were there, but I was too busy playing Captain Save-A-Ho to notice. Like how she would monitor my social media like the damn NSA. Once this female worker tagged me in a completely innocent group photo from a work conference. Literally just 15 of us standing there looking awkward and business casual. Susie absolutely lost it, blowing up my phone for hours, demanding I FaceTime her to prove I was not hiding someone. Then she made me block the coworker on everything. The coworker was married with 3 kids and looked like someone's aunt, but whatever. When I told Zach about this, he just stared at me and said, "Bro, your girlfriend is one cat and a government conspiracy theory away from being that crazy lady from Homeland." I nearly choked on my drink. Then there was the time I got a promotion at work. Instead of being happy for me, her first question was, "So, how much more are you making now?" Before I even told her the number, she was already planning a vacation to Bali and talking about upgrading her phone. Not once did she say, "Congratulations." There was also the time she accidentally checked my email when I left my laptop open and found a message from a female client, thanking me for resolving their tech issue. Susie went full detective mode, Googling this woman's name, finding her Instagram, and then confronting me with evidence that I was having an affair because the client used an exclamation point in her email. I wish I was making this up. Then there was my cousin's wedding. My cousin's best friend, Vanessa, hugged me, "Hello." A normal, quick greeting hug. Susie accidentally dumped an entire glass of punch on this poor girl's white dress. Later, she straight up told me she had to mark her territory. Not even joking. My entire family was mortified and my cousin still brings it up at every holiday. Zach was my +1 for the bachelor party and witnessed the whole punch incident. As we were driving home, he turned to me and said, "You realize you are dating the human equivalent of a chihuahua, right? Small, loud, and will attack anything that comes near what she thinks is hers." I nearly drove off the road laughing, but he was not wrong. That wedding weekend revealed so much about Susie. She complained the entire time about the venue being too basic, the food being too bland, and my family asking too many personal questions. The personal questions, just my aunts asking what she did for work, a reasonable question she could not answer because she was between jobs for the 4th time that year. Despite all this, I stayed. When you have sunk that much time into someone, you convince yourself things will improve. She is just going through a phase. She will get her career figured out soon. She is passionate, that is all. No, man. She was just crazy and I was just stupid. The way I caught her was straight out of a movie. I swear. Susie told me she was having a girls' night at her friend Mia's place. Said they were doing face masks, watching chick flicks, drinking juice cleanse smoothies, typical basic girl stuff. I did not question it because why would I? I was actually pumped to have the apartment to myself, order a pizza, and game uninterrupted for once. This girls' night thing had become a weekly ritual over the past couple months. Every Thursday, like clockwork, she would pack her overnight bag with face masks and pajamas, claiming she needed me time with her girls. In retrospect, the sudden interest in regular girls' nights should have been suspicious, especially since she used to complain about Mia being too judgy and Bella being a drama queen. I invited Zach over to take advantage of the girlfriend-free zone. We were a few energy drinks in, destroying some kids in Call of Duty, when my phone buzzed around 3 a.m. We shared our Apple Watch fitness data. There was a notification. Susie has closed her exercise ring at freaking 2:17 a.m. Zach glanced at my phone and raised an eyebrow. Unless face masks suddenly count as cardio, your girl is doing a different kind of workout. When I looked confused, he just sighed. Dude, she is riding something and it ain't a Peloton. Now, let me tell you about Susie's relationship with exercise. This girl would literally take an Uber for a 3-block trip to avoid walking. She considered shopping a workout. She once complained that her Apple Watch was broken because it did not count her scrolling through TikTok as exercise. So, seeing her burn 300 plus calories at 2 a.m. during a supposed face mask session? Yeah, something was not adding up. I texted her, getting quite the workout in, huh? She replied within seconds. Yeah, we are just dancing to 90s music, right? So, I checked Find My iPhone. Her location was nowhere near Mia's apartment. She was in some random residential area across town that I did not recognize. I showed Zach the map. He zoomed in and started laughing. Bro, what the heck? I know exactly whose place that is. That is where that mall kiosk guy lives with his parents, the one who fixed her phone. I delivered pizza there last month when I was helping my cousin with his route. I sat there stunned for a minute, trying to process what was happening. Then I dug deeper. Her Instagram story said she was at Mia's, timestamp posted hours before her scheduled alibi. I did not even bother replying to her. I just went back to gaming with Zach, who spent the rest of the night making ridiculous workout jokes. Hey man, pass me another Monster. I need to close my caffeine ring tonight. When she came home the next morning looking all smug with an "I just got laid" glow, I simply showed her the screenshots. First came the panic, then the lies. First it was, my Apple Watch must be glitching. Then, we decided to go for a midnight walk for fresh air. Then, we actually went to Bella's place instead. When I pulled up the address from Find My iPhone and showed her it was not any of her friends' places, she finally snapped. Fine. I was with Jared. And you know what? He satisfies me in ways you never could. I have been seeing him for weeks. You are so pathetic you did not even notice. Jared, some loser who worked at one of those cell phone kiosks at the mall. The dude had been unemployed more than employed in the past year, still lived in his parents' basement at 29, and had an actual wall of anime figurines. That is who she was throwing away 9 years for. The worst part? She had met him when I took her to get her phone screen fixed after she cracked it, throwing it at me during an argument about her spending habits. I even paid for the repair, so technically I funded their meet cute. Fuck my life. That night, I called Zach. He was at my place within 20 minutes with a box of energy drinks and zero sympathy. So, let me get this straight, he said while cracking open a can. You financed her affair by paying for her phone repair from the same guy she is sleeping with. That is not getting cucked. That is getting entrepreneured. Only Zach could make me laugh on literally the worst day of my life. When Susie realized I had actual proof and was not buying her bullshit, she did not apologize. Nope. Instead, she pulled the ultimate, reverse card, and got mad at me. You are invading my privacy by tracking me. She screamed, the tracking she had insisted on because she was worried about me. You set me up. You knew I was unhappy and you drove me to this. Ah, yes. I forced her to climb on top of mall kiosk boy. But that was just the appetizer of entitlement. The main course was coming. Look, we have been together 9 years, she said, suddenly all calm and reasonable. People make mistakes. I am not ending things with Jared, though. He gets me. I think we should try an open relationship. I told her to pack her stuff and get out. No, you should move out, she said, dead serious. My name is on the lease, too, and I have nowhere to go. Jared's parents' basement is not big enough for both of us yet, Like I was supposed to wait until they found bigger accommodations for their love nest. You can stay with your parents until we figure this out, but you need to keep paying the rent here and the utilities and my phone bill. I genuinely thought she was joking. She was not. You cannot just cut me off financially because I fell in love with someone else. That is financial abuse. I have built my life around your income. That is when Zach, who had been suspiciously quiet in the kitchen, probably texting updates to our friend group, walked in and slow clapped. Wow, incredible performance. Is this from the same screenwriter who did Gone Girl, or is this an original delusion? Susie threw a shoe at him, which he caught effortlessly. And she is violent, too. The full package, ladies and gentlemen. She actually tried to explain how her cheating was somehow my fault. She claimed I emotionally neglected her by working late to pay for her shopping habits. She said I forced her to look elsewhere by not meeting her needs. Apparently, her needs included a new iPhone every 6 months and weekly spa days. The mental gymnastics continued as she explained that she deserved happiness and should not have to sacrifice financially just because our relationship was changing. Rich coming from someone who had not contributed to our household. Then came the kicker. She said she should keep my dog, Nugget, my dog that I had for 2 years before we even met. The same dog that I walked 3 times a day in all weather, took to every vet appointment, paid every single bill for, and who literally only responded to my commands because Susie could not be bothered to help train him. Her version of taking care of Nugget was occasionally putting food in his bowl when I was running late from work, and even then, she would forget half the time. Her reasoning: Nugget knew her routine better and would not adjust well to a new place. She actually said with a straight face, "You can come visit him on weekends, but you will need to check with Jared first to make sure it is a good time. Oh, and obviously, you will still cover all his expenses and vet bills." Zach actually spit out his drink at this point. Sorry. Did you just try to get custody of his dog that you ignore while also admitting you are planning to move in with Anime Boy? That is not just clown behavior. That is the whole damn circus. When I refused, she looked genuinely shocked, like the concept of consequences was completely foreign to her. But what am I supposed to do? She wailed, like I was sentencing her to death instead of adulthood. Get a job. Pay your own bills. You know, like an actual adult, I suggested. She burst into tears. You are so mean after everything I have done for you. To this day, I am still trying to figure out what exactly she thought she had done for me besides drain my bank account and give me trust issues. As she stormed out of the room, Zach turned to me and said, 9 years with her and you still have both kidneys. Consider yourself lucky, man. The entitlement did not stop there. She had the audacity to demand I give her half of my savings because she contributed to my success by supporting my career. Her idea of support was occasionally telling me good luck before an important meeting while simultaneously texting me links to expensive items she wanted me to buy. She also insisted I give her my PlayStation because she used it more to watch Netflix, not even a game, and my laptop because she needed it for job applications. When I refused, she tried to guilt me by saying I was financially controlling and preventing her from becoming independent. The irony was completely lost on her. I gave Susie 72 hours to get out. Those 3 days were absolute chaos. Her friends, Mia and Bella, showed up to support her through this traumatic time. Yes, they used those exact words like she was the victim here. Turns out they had been covering for her cheating for months. They had created fake Instagram stories to make it look like they were together when she was actually with Jared. They had even answered my texts from her phone a few times when she was too busy to reply. With friends like these, who needs enemies? Mia, this 5 feet 2 inches ball of entitlement with vocal fry that could shatter glass, actually cornered me in my own kitchen and said, "You should be grateful Susie even stayed with you this long. Do you know how many guys have been after her? She chose to give you 9 years. Do you know how much her other options make? That investment banker from her yoga class drives a Porsche." Zach, who refused to leave me alone with the coven, as he called them, popped his head in from the living room. If these other guys were such great options, why did they all pass? It is like bragging about all the other colleges that rejected you. Mia looked like she wanted to stab him with her acrylic nails. Bella was even worse. She started listing all the things I owed Susie for her emotional labor during our relationship. Apparently, making dinner twice a month, burning pasta does not count as cooking, by the way, and occasionally remembering my birthday entitled her to half my savings. She actually had a spreadsheet of everything Susie had supposedly done for me with dollar amounts assigned to each task. Listen to him talk about work, $200 per hour. I kid you not. Zach peered over her shoulder at the spreadsheet and whistled. At those rates, she should owe you about $6 million for putting up with her for 9 years. Want me to make a counter spreadsheet? Bella slammed her laptop shut. While I was at work, they helped Susie pack, making sure to accidentally break several of my things in the process. My signed baseball card collection mysteriously water damaged. My gaming PC had a sudden power surge that fried the graphics card. They also tried to take stuff that was not hers, my PlayStation, my laptop, even a watch my grandfather left me when he died, claiming they were gifts or that she deserved them for putting up with me. Thankfully, Zach worked from home and offered to supervise the packing process for my place. Later, he told me he caught Bella trying to stuff my PlayStation 5 into her tote bag. I told her it was actually mine and I would need to file a police report for the theft. Funny how fast she remembered it was not Susie's after all. Zach's presence did not stop them entirely, though. They still managed to steal small but valuable items, my wireless earbuds, a couple of rare game cartridges, and somehow my entire collection of charging cables. The night before she left, Susie tried a different approach. She came into the bedroom wearing lingerie I had never seen before. Probably bought for Jared. Real nice. Trying to seduce me. "We can work through this," she purred. "I will stop seeing Jared if you just let me stay. We have history." When that did not work, she switched to threatening to tell everyone I was abusive. "No one will believe you over me," she hissed. "I will tell them you pushed me. I will tell your company you have a drinking problem." That is when I reminded her about the security cameras I had installed throughout the apartment after a break-in last year. Her face, man, I wish I had taken a picture. On moving day, Jared showed up with his parents' minivan. The dude could not even look me in the eye. He just kept his gaze fixed on the floor like he was searching for his dignity down there. His parents seemed confused about why they were helping some random woman move. Jared was exactly what you would expect. Skinny, bad posture, wearing an anime t-shirt that was one wash away from disintegrating. When he finally spoke, it was to ask if we had any bubble wrap for his limited edition figurines that were apparently already moving in with Susie. Priorities, man. Zach, who insisted on being there for moral support and to make sure they did not steal anything else, greeted Jared with a handshake and said, "So, you are the guy who fixes phones and relationships, huh? Impressive skill set." The best part, as they were loading the last of her stuff, I overheard Jared's mom ask him, "So, where exactly is she going to sleep? Your room does not have space for all this." As they pulled away, Nugget did this little happy dance I had never seen before. He ran around the apartment, grabbed his favorite toy, which had mysteriously disappeared months ago, and jumped on the couch, something Susie never allowed. I later found out from our neighbor that she had been keeping him locked in his crate whenever I was not home, sometimes for hours. No wonder he destroyed her shoes so often. That night, Nugget, Zach, and I ordered a massive pizza, drank energy drinks, water for Nugget, and watched John Wick. Zach raised his can and said, "To Apple Watch, the real MVP of this breakup." I never felt so free in my life. About a week after Susie moved out, the real crazy began. First, I got an email from her with the subject line, "Financial Settlement Proposal." Inside was a detailed list of demands, 6 months of transitional income at my full salary rate because she had to quit her job due to the unsafe living environment I created by forcing her to move, reimbursement for her investment in our relationship, including every gift she ever bought me, $10,000 for psychological damages caused by the abrupt termination of financial support, continued health insurance coverage under my plan for at least 1 year, and a monthly stipend for Nugget's care, despite the fact that Nugget was living with me. The email had clearly been written with help from Mia and Bella, as it included phrases like emotional labor compensation and unpaid domestic contribution valuation, terms straight out of Bella's ridiculous spreadsheet. I immediately forwarded it to Zach, who called me within seconds. "Bro, I have seen Nigerian print scams more realistic than this. Is she smoking bath salts?" My lawyer buddy, Marco, literally spit out his drink when I forwarded it to him. "Is she smoking crack?" was his professional legal opinion. Great minds think alike. Next, she actually contacted my company's HR department. She sent them a 3-page letter explaining how I financially abused her by withdrawing support without warning, and demanded they settle with her for $8,000 to avoid a lawsuit for emotional damages. She claimed I had been using company resources to stalk and harass her. The letter included a completely fabricated timeline where she claimed she had sacrificed her own career to support mine, had contributed essential unpaid labor to my professional success, and had been promised lifelong financial security in exchange for her partnership. Absolutely nothing in it was true. My company's legal team shut that down real quick with a harassment warning, but not before my boss called me in for an awkward meeting. Thankfully, he was cool about it. "Look, man, we have all dated crazy. Just keep it away from the office." When I told Zach about the HR incident, he said, "You should send her a consulting invoice for teaching her the word litigation." That is the only marketable skill she has picked up in 9 years. Then came the social media blitz. She, Mia, and Bella formed a three-headed monster of lies. They messaged everyone I knew, family, friends, old classmates, even my dentist. Somehow, they told everyone I had abandoned her after she got sick. She never was sick. And that I stole her inheritance. What inheritance? They claimed I had a secret gambling addiction and had blown our wedding fund at casinos. We were never engaged. The messages to my family were the worst. She told my mom I had a secret drug problem and needed an intervention. She told my sister I had gambling debts. She told my grandma I had been visiting prostitutes. It was like she was throwing everything at the wall to see what would stick. Thankfully, my family knew Susie well enough by then to see through her. My sister's response was legendary: "The only addiction my brother has is putting up with your crazy ass for 9 years." Zach, being the true friend he is, started responding to people who reached out about these rumors with a simple message: "New phone, who dis?" Followed by screenshots of Susie's actual texts confessing to the affair. He shut that down real quick. Mia and Bella backed up every lie. They created fake screenshots of conversations with me that never happened. They started a #CancelJake hashtag that thankfully only got like 15 posts, mostly from their own fake accounts. The wildest part? When none of that worked, they showed up at my job with signs, like actual poster board signs, saying, "Jake is a financial abuser and justice for Susie." Security removed them after about 10 minutes. Zach happened to be dropping off lunch for me that day. He has been weirdly protective since the breakup. And witnessed the whole protest scene. He waited until security was escorting them out, then shouted across the lobby, "Hey, Susie, your sign has a typo. It should say, Jake refused to finance my abuse." I nearly died of embarrassment, but the security guards were cracking up. After the failed protest, Susie escalated further. She somehow got my new phone number, probably from a mutual friend who did not know the situation, and started bombarding me with texts, alternating between threats and tearful pleas. 1 minute, she was going to ruin my life. The next, she was still in love with me and wanted to work things out. When I blocked her number, she created fake social media accounts to message me. When I blocked those, she started emailing me from new addresses with increasingly unhinged subject lines like, "You cannot escape me and you will regret this forever." She even showed up at my apartment a few times, pounding on the door and screaming until neighbors threatened to call the cops. Once she actually climbed onto my balcony from the fire escape at 2 in the morning, setting off the security system and scaring the hell out of Nugget. So, I decided it was time to shut this bullshit down. As Rorschach says in Watchmen, "You are locked in here with me." First, I gathered all the evidence of Susie's insanity, the threatening texts, the fake social media posts, the harassment of my family, the videos of her trespassing at my apartment, everything. I made copies and put them in a secured cloud folder. Then, I made some moves. I contacted Jared's parents directly, sent them the full documentation of Susie's behavior, including the emails where she demanded I keep paying her bills while she was living with their son. I also included screenshots of texts where she called them those pathetic old losers and complained about their depressing basement. Apparently, they were not thrilled to learn about Susie's true character and gave Jared an ultimatum: her or their roof. I found these texts from an old backup of her phone on my computer. She had used my laptop to back up her phone once and never deleted the files. The texts to her friends about Jared's parents were brutal. "His mom is such a controlling person, and their house smells like mothballs and disappointment. I cannot believe I am stuck in this loser's basement until Jake comes to his senses and takes me back." Zach added his own touch to this plan. "Send them the bill for all the stuff she stole or broke when moving out. Tell them their son's girlfriend has expensive taste in other people's property." I did, and they actually sent a check covering half the damages. Respect. I reported her to the credit card company she had defrauded. You see, Susie had borrowed my credit cards multiple times without permission. I had let it slide during our relationship, but now I filed formal fraud reports with documentation. Her already sketchy credit score tanked overnight. The credit card fraud was more extensive than I initially realized. Going through my statements, I found dozens of charges I never authorized: online shopping sprees, random cash advances, even a weekend spa trip she told me was paid for by her mom as a birthday gift. All told, it was over $7,000 in fraudulent charges across 3 different cards. I contacted her new workplace. She had finally gotten a receptionist job at a salon. I did not say anything negative about her. I did not need to. I just asked them to update their records because she was no longer authorized to use my insurance or list me as her emergency contact. The manager, curious about the situation, started asking questions. When I mentioned the restraining order I was filing, More on that in a second. Her eyes got wide. We do not need that kind of drama here, she said. Susie was let go the next day. Zach thought this was a particularly elegant move. Chess, not checkers, he said with admiration. You did not even have to lie. You just gave her enough rope and she hung her own career. Remember Vanessa, my cousin's friend who got punch dumped on her? Turns out she is an attorney specializing in harassment cases. She helped me file for a comprehensive restraining order against Susie, Mia, and Bella. With the mountain of evidence I had collected, the judge granted it immediately, a 3-year order, no contact whatsoever, and a minimum 500 feet distance. The restraining order hearing was something else. Susie showed up thinking she could charm the judge with the same tears and manipulation that had worked on me for years. Instead, the judge, a no-nonsense older woman, cut her off mid-sob and said, "Miss, this court operates on evidence, not emotion, and the evidence against you is substantial." When Susie tried to interrupt with more excuses, the judge simply said, "One more word, and I will hold you in contempt." I had never seen Susie shut up so fast in 9 years. Zach accompanied me to court for moral support and whispered, "Look at you getting the government involved in your breakup. That is like calling in an airstrike on a mosquito." Then he added, "A really psychotic, financially draining mosquito." The coup de grace. I created a detailed website documenting everything with timestamped evidence, screenshots, and videos. I did not publish it publicly. That would be stupid to her level. Instead, I just sent the link to Susie with one message, in case you are wondering why no one believes you anymore. The website was comprehensive, organized chronologically from the first red flags to the final restraining order. It included a financial section detailing how much money she had cost me over the years, over $150,000 when all was said and done, a timeline of her cheating, documentation of her harassment campaign, and recordings of her threats. It was basically a digital paper trail of every crazy thing she had ever done. Zach helped with the website, adding some coding flourishes that made it look extremely professional. It is like LinkedIn, he explained. But instead of work experience, it is a comprehensive catalog of batshit crazy behavior. The man has a way with words. Within a week, Jared had kicked her out. Her new job was gone. Her credit was destroyed. She could not come near me, my home, or my workplace. And everyone in our social circle had seen the receipts of her behavior. The best part? I did not have to lie or make up anything. I just showed people who she really was with evidence she had created herself. As Captain America would say, I can do this all day. It took a few weeks before Susie's new life imploded completely. Jared had dumped her after his parents threatened to stop supporting him. She was couch surfing between Mia and Bella's places, but they were getting tired of her, too, especially since their own reputations were taking hits because of the restraining order situation. That is when the messages started coming in through mutual friends. Susie is really struggling. She is sorry for everything. She has been crying for days. Cannot you just talk to her? She made some mistakes, but she still loves you. I ignored all of them. As far as I was concerned, Susie no longer existed. Zach, who was still getting these messages, too, had a standard reply, "New phone. Who dis?" Just kidding. I know exactly who this is. The answer is still no. Then he blocked them. Then came the fake pregnancy claim. One night around 11 at night, I got a barrage of texts from a number I did not recognize. "I am pregnant and it is yours. You need to step up and take responsibility. Jared left me and I cannot do this alone. Your baby needs you." I responded with exactly 2 words, paternity test. When I showed the text to Zach the next morning, he nearly fell off his chair laughing. Pregnant with what? Audacity? Because that is the only thing she is full of. Then he got serious. Document everything, bro. This is restraining order violation territory. That is when she went full nuclear. She showed up at my apartment at 2 in the morning, pounding on the door, screaming that I was abandoning my child. My Ring doorbell captured the whole meltdown in 4K. Nugget was barking his head off. Poor guy. When I would not let her in, she sent me a novel-length text that I screenshot immediately because it was so delusional. "We were together for 9 years, Jake. It makes more sense for you to raise this baby than anyone else. Jared is gone, but you have a good job and a stable home. Who cares about biology? You owe me this after everything I did for you. The least you could do is help me raise this baby." The text continued with her explaining how she had it all planned out. I would support her and our baby financially. She would live in my apartment and we would co-parent while she figured out her career goals. She even suggested that Jared could visit on weekends since he was technically the biological father. The delusion was reaching new heights. I remained firm about the paternity test. She alternated between threats and sob stories for weeks. Finally, when she saw she had no options, she agreed. The results? Not mine. In fact, the timing made it impossible. We had not been intimate for months before the breakup. That should have been another red flag. When the results came in, Zach suggested we celebrate. Not being the father should be a national holiday for you, bro. It is like Christmas, your birthday, and Independence Day all wrapped in one. The day after the paternity results, I got an email from Susie that honestly made me feel a tiny bit of pity for her. She had lost everything: Jared, her job, her friends were distancing themselves, and she was 3 months behind on her credit card payments. She was facing eviction from the crappy studio apartment she had managed to rent. I have hit rock bottom, she wrote. I have nowhere else to turn. I know I screwed up, but I cannot do this alone. I need your help, just a loan to get back on my feet. I promise I will pay you back. Please, Jake, for the 9 years we had, for all the good times, I am begging you. The email was surprisingly humble for Susie. A year ago, it would have worked. I would have sent her money, believing her promises to change. But I was different now. 9 years of manipulation had finally taught me something. I considered it for about half a second before remembering the hell she had put me through. Instead of sending money, I sent her information for local women's shelters, food banks, and job placement services. Her response was predictably entitled, "After everything we have been through, that is all you can offer? Charity links? You are just being a jerk. You know I cannot live like that. I am not some homeless person." That is when I realized she still did not get it. She still thought she was entitled to my support despite betraying me in every possible way. I blocked her new number, filed her email under spam, and updated the restraining order with the new contact attempts. It has been about a year since all this went down. My life has improved in ways I never imagined possible. I got that promotion at work I had been aiming for. My finances recovered, too. Within 6 months, I had paid off all my credit card debt, started properly funding my 401k, and even put a down payment on a small house with a yard for Nugget. And remember Vanessa, my cousin's friend? We started dating about 6 months after the Susie show ended. Turns out she had always had a thing for me, but respected my relationship. She is smart, successful, drama-free, and treats Nugget like the king he is. We took things slow. Vanessa was everything Susie was not. She had her own career, paid for her own stuff, and never once tried to check my phone or accuse me of cheating. Dating her made me realize just how toxic my relationship with Susie had been. Zach, of course, takes full credit for our relationship. I created the perfect opening for you two by being such a terrible wingman that made you look good by comparison, he jokes. But the truth is, he has been my rock through this whole ordeal. Last I heard, Susie had to move back to her parents' house in another state. The baby was